Well, tomorrow, Canadian singer, musician, writer, and activist, a lot of titles there, Alex Henry Foster will take his American tour to New York after a recent stop in front of a packed crowd at Neumos in Seattle.
He and his band recently released their latest album, A Measure of Shape and Sounds, just last month. And I recently talked to Alex about the new album and the impact his childhood had on his long music career. You're originally from Canada, from Montreal area.
Yeah, I'm from Montreal, Canada, yes.
And tell us a little bit about your background getting into music.
Oh, it's a wonderful, wonderful story. I think it all went back to my parents. We were living in a very difficult neighborhood, very violent. But my parents, the way they were trying to, set me in the right motion was to really feed me with music, with art, all those things. I was able to travel without being, without leaving my little apartment.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how it started with my father, asking me to pick like a record, like every Friday nights we were listening to music like from Black Sabbath to The Doors. And on Saturday morning it was with my mother, and she's really into rock and roll, so it was like my dancing lessons with her, listening to like Elvis and Chuck Berry. So it was like a very, it was a rich childhood, I would say. So it was very, very cool. And that slowly led me in some ways to punk rock.
Quite the journey, right?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just able to find myself and find my way with friends, because for me music is about community, and it's about friendship. It's what you share, and then when you're very privileged like I am, you're able to travel, but even more so you're able to connect with other people. So this is just like tremendous.
And I think you released your second album of the year earlier this year, is that right?
Yes.
For people who haven't had a chance to listen to that album, talk about what they're going to hear and maybe the inspiration behind some of the tracks on there.
This year was like a bit different from everything that I've released before, because I was like just going out of like a heart surgery and I wasn't able to do much after that. The recovery was very difficult. So it became more of an introspective record. It's instrumental. It's a lot of layers of sounds that just like convey contemplation and reflection, which is like pretty different from what I do usually live. It's really engaging kind of music. So just to be able to dwell in that kind of vibe and to feel those emotions was very liberating for me. And from what I'm receiving, like messages I'm receiving, it's very beautiful to see how it's been the soundtrack of a lot of those, emancipative feelings for people.
Kind of therapeutic for you in a way?
Probably yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without even kind of realizing
I'm not supposed to say that because it's not cool.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
What do you mean? But yes, it was. It was, yes. Just to be in the moment and just to actually reflect on the more positive angle when you feel like you've been deprived from everything that was defining you or you thought was defining you. Because I wasn't able to talk for 4 months. It was very, very difficult to focus. I had like a microembolism in my brain, so which might, explain why I'm a bit like off sometimes. Don't worry at home. And so yes, it was truly a moment where I needed that record to be done.
Knowing where you were at during that time to where you're at today, what is that like for you to sort of get on a stage and perform some of this music that was coming out of a pretty dark time?
I think it comes with like a lot of gratefulness.
Yeah.
And you're able to appreciate a little bit more of all the details. Before, I'm very DIY, I do everything myself. And I have my own record label. So I'm very hands-on in pretty much everything I do. And when you're like that, which is great, when you're like that, you tend to miss on the most meaningful things. And I think I've missed a lot over the course of that wonderful journey of mine. And now it just got me back to all those little, just to meet people like this morning, or just to have like human kind of interaction, and also appreciating, being with your friends and traveling the world. And I know I'm just talking about that as if it was simple and just like nothing, but I'm very, very privileged to do that, obviously. But I think that when you go back to the foundation of why, rather than just like, okay, you need to work towards like goals, and you just appreciate every little moment, then it makes that journey even more powerful, even more significant for you. So that's pretty much how I see it, where I am now. Maybe in a year, you know, I might like talk completely differently, just like, yeah, I'm a rock star now.
Well, that means you have to come back, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and I will.
You think about, you know, yourself as a young kid and not really knowing where this music career would take you, where you're at now. What is it like for you to sort of think back all those years ago when you were picking out the records and seeing how much success you've had all these years later? I
think you need to appreciate, you know, because sometimes you look at life, and I think it's human nature, and you feel like, oh, you know, I would have liked to, like all my other friends, to go to Europe for a summer, or to do this or that, or to go like to the restaurant, you know, once a week. And it was some kind of like so far away from my reality. But what I really appreciate looking back at it was the fact that I was the one traveling so far, because my parents were so involved in that sense that you need to keep on feeding your imagination. Don't let your circumstances define who you are and how you're seeing life, or you're perceiving life. And it's when you look back that you realize, okay, well, at first you feel like you've been missing out on everything, but then I realize now that, I mean, it was like plentiful, and the blessings were there for me just to dwell into on like every day. It was like a new discovery. I was like on a different trip every single day, and that I really owe them for that rich gift of life.
Really fascinating discussion with him, and what I also appreciated about him coming into the station is he brought his whole band with him, and it seemed like there was about 20 people. It was the first meeting I was like, whoa, you brought your whole entourage, but they were traveling together. They went to Oakland after Seattle and just said, you know, this was their first time here, but had a wonderful time.
So he's currently on tour.
He's on tour. He's going to be in New York tomorrow.
I look at his YouTube channels, and he's quite a bit of engagement. So, you know, not only a talented person with a fan base, but also very kind, too.
Yes, yes. Quite the journey he has had, for sure.
Good. I hope his show in Seattle went well.
Yeah.